I've noticed some comedians that are intentionally trying to offend. It sometimes takes away because there's more of an intention to like, let me try to offend, and then it takes away from the actual joke writing. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does make sense. It's inauthentic because, and that happens like when people are trying to find their, it's a new scene. It's like the South Park guys and like Eminem, like they don't try to be offensive. They just are. So it seems authentic. Whereas when you're a comedian and you're starting out and you're like, I got to figure my shit out. You might write something where like you've just never said shit like that before in your life. And people are like, who is this guy? What is this? You're like, hey, Twin Towers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Pranzata Podcast. This is your host, Andrea Pranzatelli. This is episode number 100 on the Pranzata Podcast on YouTube. My mind is blown that it's already at episode 100 right now. We have another guest today. This is Brendan Sagalow. Brendan is a New York City-based stand-up comedian. He also is a rapper with the rapper name SagDaddyDaGawd, and not the God, DaGawd with D-A. I have a lot of questions for him today. Before we get into it, if you are new to this podcast, as we go along, if you enjoy what you hear, please don't forget to hit subscribe. It is my mission to grow this podcast this year, and your support would be incredibly helpful. Also, feel free to chime in on anything we talk about. If you agree with something we say, disagree, if you have anything to chime in on, please leave your comments below. All right. So, Brendan, my first question for you is specifically about being a comedian in New York City. So I started comedy in New Jersey, and now I'm living near Philly. My question for you is there anything about New York City comedians that you're like, when you hear them, you're like, oh, that's a New York City comic? Like they tell a joke in a particular style. They have like a certain way about them. Is there anything like that? Or is that not a thing anymore? That's kind of,
I don't know. There is kind of a thing to it. You'd think. I don't think I've spent enough time in other places to really make that assumption. Yeah. And I'm not really one to generalize. I would say a lot of people think New York comedians have a tendency to be to have more I don't know how to say this, to be better. No, they have a tendency, like it's tight. It's very tight. Like it's very like punchline. Yeah. And this is just shit I've heard. So I'm just regurgitating. I think everybody's different. I've seen people like that in LA. I've seen people like that in Texas and shit, like Philly, of course. But
I've heard this say, sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
What they say is like New Yorkers, we kind of stand still. We're kind of like all jokes, like cunts, like that. And LA is a little bit more like, act out and kind of,
right.
This is all just stereotypes that people have said, like autobiographical. And then Texas is just racists.
I know there's like a popping comedy scene there right now because of like all the Joe Rogan fans, essentially. Yeah. But no, the reason I asked you that question is because I heard the same exact thing. I heard that New York City comedians were the stereotype I heard is that they stick to traditional joke writing. Like they're very set up punchline, but that might be an outdated stereotype at this point because I feel
I don't think that's true.
So many people are mingling everywhere.
There's so many different types of people and so many different things that you see. I mean, we don't have a lot of like crazy act out people, like that. I would say I think a lot of it is like, but it's not like there's not like, my wife was at the bar and she said, it's like it's not like set up punchline as much, It's, but again, this is all generalizing. I specifically think, I wouldn't, I do all of it. I think I don't know.
Yeah. And probably like I would imagine that post-pandemic a lot of those things changed a lot. Like so many people moved from here to there and kind of switched things around. So
a lot of people went different places. I just was at Texas and I saw a bunch of people that I didn't even know left New York. I thought they just stopped doing stand-up and they just they went to Texas.
Was it in Austin specifically or like all around Texas?
Yeah, It was like the Rogan scene, basically.
How is the scene there, the Texas comedy scene?
I think it's good. I don't know. I haven't spent much time there. besides like I did the Moon Tower Comedy Festival there this year, and it was cool. I did check out Rogan's Club, and I could only see it from the outside, and it looked beautiful and it looked awesome. I mean, they had security guards with like guns and shit. Like it looked fucking cool. And like I heard it's a really great club, but I haven't been inside of it. But the scene, I don't know. I think it's a bunch of like it's like it's people, you know, it's you can tell the influence that they got. They're a little bit more like, you know, there's a little bit more like corners. They're a little bit more like edgier, I would say. They're kind of going for that, you know, like edgier from what I've seen. There's a lot of people that are like, let's make jokes about what's going on in the news and you know and you know, the they thems and the this and the that and all that stuff. That's a little bit more where I think New York probably had that trophy for a little bit. Like New York had that thing going, and I think from what I've seen, the Texas comics are kind of doing that a little bit more. There's more of like a say whatever the fuck you want kind of thing, which I respect.
So I was gonna say, when I moved near Philly and I started doing comedy in Philly, I noticed that compared to the comedians in New Jersey. Now, perhaps maybe just the comedians in New Jersey aren't that great because like no one goes to New Jersey to start comedy. You know what I mean? Like they start there because they live there. And then if they really want to do it, they go to a bigger city. But I noticed that as soon as I got to Philly, it was like everything I thought I knew and thought I could do, I had to just build from ground zero because they were. What do you mean? They were just so much better. And they were so much tougher too. Kind of like you said, they're probably more similar to Texas, like that they're like we don't care about offending, like we're just gonna go for whatever we want. You know what I mean?
Which New York, oh my God, my mic's falling. Which New York has too. Hold on, I'll keep this going while fixing the microphone. This is how much of a pro I am. Look at this. I think New York has that too. I'm speaking slower. New York has that too. Yeah, New York has that too. I don't know. I've noticed it, and I don't like to fucking generalize, but the Texas comedians that I've seen, I see it as like they're really heavy into like offend, and that's cool. There's a scene for that, you know. Like I'm cool with that. But that seems like the difference. Where New York is more like, you know, some people aren't trying to offend, but the jokes are fucking bum, 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 bum. Not like they're all good, but there's a lot more jokes.
Yeah.
I don't know. All this could be wrong. I have no idea what I'm saying.
You're good. No, I have a lot of thoughts about that, but actually I want to move on to the next question.
Okay.
No, I was going to say, I feel like sometimes I've noticed some comedians that are intentionally trying to offend. It sometimes takes away because like there's more of an intention to like, let me try to offend. And then it takes away from the actual joke writing. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does make sense. It's inauthentic because, and you know, that happens like when people are trying to find their, you know, it's a new scene. Like some of these comics are trying to figure their shit out. So I don't know. I mean, when I started and when I was, I mean, only like a couple, you're still saying shit that's like offensive, you know, and then you start finding your own kind of like, okay, it's like the South Park guys and like Eminem, like they don't try to be offensive. They just are. So it seems authentic. Whereas when you're a comedian and you're starting out and you're like, I got to figure my shit out. You might write something where like you've just never said shit like that before in your life. And people are like, who is this guy? What is this? You're like, hey, Twin Towers. Everyone's like, what?
No, there's a massive difference between like a young, you know, beginner. I guess I shouldn't say young because you could start at any age, but there's a difference between a beginner who's like doesn't know any better, who's trying to figure out the line versus someone who comes in and isn't intentionally like, I'm a comedian, so I'm gonna fucking piss people off. Like there's a difference. Yeah.
And some people are offensive and just like, unfortunately not funny, where you're just like, where you're like, okay, I see that this is you, but this sucks and you suck. Like it's authentic. You're being authentic to yourself, but you suck.
It's funny you said the South Park because I just started getting into South Park for the first time now. Like I really I missed the boat on that. I'm 35 years old and it's my first time.
God.
Yes. But I've been flying through.
Mormon? How were you raised?
I don't know.
Were you allowed a TV?
The irony about this is my father owned a TV shop. So there should have been no reason why I shouldn't have seen TV, but I wasn't a TV watcher when I was younger. It just like wasn't my thing. But you know, as I got older, I always kind of felt like left out when people were like referencing things. And I was like, I feel like I can't like relate to anybody, like, you know, so I watched Seinfeld this year. I watched Chappelle's Show, and now I'm almost at the end of South Park. And I noticed what you're talking about them figuring out their voices, because it's funny. They made some episodes like poking fun at certain people. And then later on I think they poked fun at Al Gore. And then later on in the series, they like apologized to Al Gore essentially. Yeah, they made one episode like poking fun at global warming, and they, rather than like directly saying global warming, they used man bear pig. Yeah, so that was the reference. And then they were kind of like calling him crazy essentially. And then a couple seasons later, they were like, actually, he was right. like man bear pig is real. Like,
but it's funny that you take that as them calling him crazy, where I took that as like, this is the way he sounds to people. And even if it's real, like it's so funny, man. Like me and my girlfriend will watch South Park and she's like, oh, they're saying, I literally just had a conversation about this today with my fucking dad over people's interpretation of art and stuff. And like, and they take it as like, you know, like I posted this thing yesterday on my Instagram of a screenshot of these guys, like in Times Square, they had the fucking Palestinian on one side, and then they had the Israelis on the other side, and they're all protesting, and there's a big space in the middle. So I took that, and I also took that scene from Curb Your Enthusiasm, which I don't know if you watched the show. I didn't watch the show, but I was, considering you've never seen TV before in your life, apparently. That is like when you have a lot to catch up with, that wouldn't be the first place to go, but that is one of my stops eventually. Right. Well, there's a very famous episode where he is going to a Palestinian chicken place because the chicken is like really fucking good. And his Jewish friends are like, you can't support, blah, blah, blah. And there's a whole West Side Story thing happening. Yeah. And at the end of it, he's in between two, you know, the Israelis and the Palestinians, and they're arguing with each other, and he's in between, and they make, this is a meme that goes around all the time, like a gif of him being like, you know, not knowing what to do. So I took that news thing and I put it, and then I added the Larry David thing. My dad, I see him today. He goes, he brings it up because somebody fucking called him. One of his friends who follow me called him. I was going to say your dad's on Instagram. Like I was just about to say. No, but they called him to complain about me and say like, why is he doing this? And they said that I put that out to tell the world that I'm Larry David in that. And I'm the one going, when really it was just, that's a top 10 episode. Everybody knows that episode. So I thought it was really funny to put those two together and be like, there's no, so point is, long story short or whatever, but they interpreted my, for lack of a better word, art, you know, whatever you want to call it. They interpreted that as that's how I feel. And it really set me off today. So it's funny that you go like, oh, they were poking fun at Al Gore, because who knows what they were doing. They could have literally just been like, this is how he sounds and it's funny. Like they could be guys that are like, yeah, we agree, but this is the way, this is funny. Everybody thinks like stand up or comedy or that kind of like comedic art needs to represent a feeling when the feeling is this is funny. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not that complicated. I have met some comedians who did think the other way, because I like certain comedians I've interviewed on the podcast. I had like a question prepared that was like, why do you do comedy? Does it mean something to you that you're trying to spread a message across the world, or
do you just think this shit's funny? The majority of people, like 80 to 90%, responded with exactly that. Like, I just think this is fun. I'm not that serious of a person. But there was like a small percentage of people, like maybe 10% or so, that would come on and say, like, I want to get messages across the world through comedy.
I get that.
So I guess there are people out there who are doing that, but it's not everybody, you know?
It's all linear. There's no, you can have a post like I made and it just be something that's funny. And then I can have a joke that actually says how I feel on something that I think is important. It doesn't all have to mean something, and it doesn't all have to not mean something. It can, I'm also, I'm on the side of, if you're saying something, you should be able to back it up and choose the specific words that come out of your mouth. But if you say something that was just funny to you at the time and you don't agree with, that's cool too. I don't really care.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I had a similar situation happen to me, and it wasn't as serious as like war. It was like it was far less serious. It was I remember I put a quote of a song on like Facebook. I mean, this was like 10 years ago. I put a quote of a song that I liked, and it was like I can't help it, he's my kind of man. I put it on there because I just liked the song, and I did like karaoke that week, and I thought it was like, I was like, oh, this song's in my head, this is a cute song, like let me put it on. Right. I remember like 2 guys that I was friends with like thought that I was like sending them a message, like thought that I was sending them like some type of hidden message.
Oh, really?
Like they're like, Andrea wrote this quote, I think she's talking about me. Like they were like, and I was like,
that's
no,
hilarious.
I was like, I felt bad. I was like, and I was like 22 at the time, or like 23, whatever. Right. I was a waitress at the time, and one of the guys even like came in and brought me like a gift, like when I was waitressing. But I felt so bad because I was like, no, this was not some type of like secret message for like the man that I'm looking for. I just like I just liked the song, and I've heard other like friends say the same thing. I have like a lot of musician friends. I had one friend who was like a singer, and she like decided to cover this Lauryn Hill song, and all of her friends were like, she's writing this about her boyfriend because they're gonna break up. Like, it was just a whole,
it's what it comes down to is just everybody is so selfish, and like they're the main character in their own thing. So if they feel a way, that's gotta be the way. And it doesn't occur to them in any world that I wasn't thinking about you at all. Yeah.
Do you get like, more of that? No, you're good. Do you get more of that stuff like on stage, like hecklers, that type of stuff? Do you ever get people that like kind of heckle you? Yeah.
Sometimes it's so rare that has some heckles are like, most heckles are people that aren't even listening, that are just trying to talk to their friend or something or whatever. But like, you get some things that are like, I don't know. It's like I don't even really feed into it. I'll ask what they meant. Like I said something, I forgot what it was, and someone went, yeah, no. And I was like, what was it that made you say that? And then they quiet up, and you go, so there's really no point to even like diverge into like, I'll just go like, yeah, that's how they reacted to that. Keep moving. It's fine. Like, but not, it's like, it's such a bummer that these people here, it's funny, like 7 years ago, it had to be a long time ago, I was watching a comic on stage do this joke about people getting triggered by words, and he said a couple of words, and then someone got triggered and walked out. In the
joke about the example.
And I go, and I thought that was really interesting. I went, they weren't even listening to the context. Like, they don't get the irony that just happened of that was what the joke was about. Yeah, and they go, oh, you can't say that, blah 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 blah. And it's not to be like that guy, like this is a fucking argument as old as Israel and Palestine. So it's annoying to even be whatever. But I just thought it was very interesting that it was like, and it was like, oh, you got mad at what the joke was about, and the joke is about you. It's like a full fucking circle.
At least either he wasn't paying attention at all, he was like on his phone, and the word popped up, or he just didn't get it. Like,
exactly.
One or the other.
People hear one thing and they get triggered. And that's the thing about this like post that I made, where it's like that, what a harmless joke. I've seen comedians trying to make jokes out of this that are brutal and so not funny, and so just like offensive to be offensive. It's the same shit, like
like we were just
inauthentically offensive. And just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I think try it. That's what comedy is. And we're cockroaches. So who gives a fuck? Like, why is everybody so mad at us? But it's so fun. It's just like, I'm not the one killing Jews. I'm not in a terrorist group. We're just making a joke, and people lose their mind.
No, it's funny. The next questions I had prepared for you be like naturally covered. Like my next question was, what is it like in New York City right now? Like, are there any rallies or anything going on?
That's happening in Times Square, and that's pretty much it that I know of. I mean, there's so much. It's weird because there's fear mongering, and then there's actual like things that are happening. So it's like the New York wants us to be afraid of, these like people that are living below their means and like resorting to crime. But, I don't know. I haven't ran into anything like that, but it is also, it's just kind of nuts. People are even people that seem kind of sane. And I think this is the entire world. Something happened. Maybe it was the pandemic, but people are carrying this PTSD with them right now. That's like, you could just see it. Someone's like reading a book and blood is coming out of their eyes, and you're just like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's weird right now. It's very weird in the city.
No, me and my friend were literally just talking about this the other day. My friend lives in the city. He's also a comedian. He just moved there recently, and he's like pretty new. He was saying that like he's spent a lot of time in the city before, but he was saying that right now the subways are worse than he's ever seen. Is that true, or is that?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Like what exactly do you see on the subway that seems so much worse than like 5 or 10 years ago?
I mean, it's very like, it's not as frequent. So like, so it's like, it's hard most of the time on the subway. You're all right. Like, it's okay. But there are people that are, like holding knives, Jesus. And like, coming into the fucking train, being crazy and picking fights and stuff like that. I think YouTube and Instagram and all these videos, they make it seem like it's a lot more than it is. But it is pretty bad.
Do you go on the subway anymore? Or do you kind of just like Uber or walk places now?
I'm a subway queen. I have to. I get addicted to Ubers. Like, I think it's so convenient that I'll spend like thousands of dollars going on an Uber and stuff. And I'm only doing stand up as like my main job. I don't have a day job or anything like that. Right. So I gotta
budget yourself.
I gotta budget myself, and I have to like make my nut and stuff like that. And anyway, and I mean, like, it's funny I say that because I'm spending all my money on weed and like, whatever.
It's funny you said about the Ubering too, because I'm currently switching apartments right now, and like security deposit, all that shit's expensive. So I started Ubering part-time to make like a little extra cash for the security deposit. And it is great, easy money. Like you just said, people. Yes. I mean, like, when I say great, I don't mean like I'm rich off of it necessarily, but I mean, for the purpose that I need, usually it might be harder in New York City because there might be more traffic than from where I am, but one trip like is like $10, and like I get paid like $10 a trip, but it's just like, I feel like I just ran an errand. Like I went to the grocery store.
Right.
They're not far rides. Like, so I'm just like, wow, this is like for what I need. Like, if you're like an artist or somebody who needs like part-time, quick, easy money, but you don't want like a real job, it's like a great method, I think.
Yeah. And you do 10 of those and you're good for a fucking day. You make $100 a day. That'd be, that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could do that. That'd be kind of cool.
Probably you don't need a car in the city though, right?
No. Yeah. I wish I had a car. I mean, the best part about having a car in the city is when you're going home. Like when it's like, okay, time to go home. Let's drive home. You could smoke a blunt or whatever.
Yeah.
The later that you're on the subway, the more scared you are too. You're like, I gotta be alert right now.
Yeah. All right, funny. My next question, we already touched on too. My next question was, is there anything pissing you off right now? And you literally went in I don't know. I'm into pet peeves, things that are irritating you. And you went into a whole thing about how you're irritated about how people take things way too personally, on social media. So we already.
It really does bug me when people take their fucking childhood out on you. Yeah. And it's always what I've been doing with people when they confront me or something. Yeah. I'll ask them, what are you afraid of? Where's the fear here? What's going on? What is happening in your life right now that this is affecting you? And two, what are you afraid of I said that with my dad, right? I was like, what are you afraid of? And then he started going into a thing about how, he's Jewish. I'm Jewish, but he's really Jewish. He's, my mom's not Jewish, but he's Jewish and his wife is Jewish and they're old. So when they hear somebody say Global Jihad Day, they think they're going to get, they think Hamas is coming right to their door in Jersey. They think that Hamas is right in their door in Jersey and whatever they can, I'm not saying she can't be afraid or he can't, but he's like, and blah, 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 was afraid about this and this happened and da-da-da. And I go, so it's not about me at all. The problem you're having. The problem is with the terrorists and the stuff that's happening. So you're just taking it out on someone who it means nothing. It means nothing what I'm saying and what I do. So if I do a joke that you might not find funny, why is it my job to correct that? Why is it my job to and again, I fucking hate this conversation. The old, yeah. Because it's, they were talking about this, speaking of South Park, the whole movie is about that. The movie that came out in 98 is about censorship and blah, blah, blah. And just what we've been talking about. It just bugs me to it bugs me that you're telling me what I can and can't say. And I have an authority problem. You know what I mean?
Me too.
I have exactly a big problem with people telling me what I can't say. And honestly, that's life. You're going to have people, but I'm trying to get better at getting at holding it, you know what I mean? And being breathe, don't get upset, because my main instinct is to go, fuck you. How dare you?
And then you know what? If you do that, then you actually end up becoming one of them in a way. If you try to compete, because when you think about it, all these, I'm trying to pick my thought. I have 10 different ones right now. Okay, I'll just go with this one.
Sure.
When you kind of think about it, we're in for us to even be having these conversations, for one, means we're in a privileged place to be able to, you know what I mean? Like we can have these conversations and we can get mad about these things because we're in a place like that. But secondly, we're all just because we're in that privileged place, we're all just walking chemical reactions to each other. Like you said, of whatever triggered you in childhood, like you just said, you don't like authority. Well, now all these people against you feels like massive amounts of authority against you. So we're all just walking around triggering each other's insecurities,
It only bugs me when it's someone that's close to me or someone I know, because that's a real conversation that you got to have. Whereas when I post something and somebody says something in the comments, I'm always I'm always what? I'm always kind of joking around with them and stuff, because you don't want to see you. It's embarrassing if people see you defending your shit in the comments. It's really embarrassing. So I'll go somebody said something and I was like, what did I do? I literally just wrote, what did I do? Yeah. I was like, I didn't do anything that's actually upsetting you. Yeah. And especially with this shit, because people are too soon. Oh, is it too soon? The Palestine and Israel conflict, is that not been going on for years? What are you talking about? Yeah. No, whatever. I get all riled up.
You're good. All right. So the next
I gotta smoke weed is what I gotta do.
The next section will lighten us up because it's a trivia section. So I started putting a trivia section on the podcast. And I go by topics.
Great.
So I have
homework.
I have 5 questions for you. The topic last week I I gave trivia questions to a male comic about the female anatomy. Okay. For you, I was inspired by your pooped my pants rap. So
okay.
So sure. The topic today is trivia all about farts. So this is gonna lighten up.
I'm gonna be 5 for 5 on this.
Also, side note about the pooped your pants video. That thing really got around because one of my roommates, like somebody I live with, they came up to me. They're like, you got to check out this rap. And they're not even into comedy like that. Like they like a little bit of comedy, but not like that. But they're like, yo, check this out.
I know. It has 5.4 million views on Instagram.
I know. And like
I think like 900,000 on TikTok or something.
It was crazy. It was like so crazy to me. I'm like, wait a second. I was just talking to that guy, and I think he's coming on my podcast. How did you get that? And he's like really into like fart humor and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, this is great. This poop my pants. So I know.
I also have one about coming fast and stuff. But I hope that I'm just trying to do it because I'm good at it. But I also want to like. I know good is subjective. Obviously, I am a genius at it. No, but I'm hoping it can push people to my stand-up shows or something. I think it's smart to tackle things at like different angles. I don't think that's a bad idea. All right, farts. Okay.
Number 1, how many times a day, on average, does the average person fart? What would be your guess?
This might be high just because of my diet. But I'm going to say 80 or 88.
So it's actually roughly like 11 to 14 times a day.
So 80? What the fuck was I talking about? Well, Jesus Christ.
Maybe that's how many times you fart a day.
I fart 11 times when I wake up.
But what counts as one fart? Is it like one fart session or is it like one individual fart,
It's one individual fart. Okay. That's what counts. So if you have one fart session that's like that's 5 farts.
Yeah. All right, but the average person farts 11 to 14 times a day. Now we know that you're a little bit higher than the average.
That's crazy. I was going high for me. I mean, I fart probably like 25, 30 times a day.
For me, it depends on like what I ate that day. Like, so I'll have some days where I could go like I could probably be up in the 80s like some days, but then some days like nothing. So maybe throughout the week, it averages out to like 15 times a day. Okay. Next, this is actually really interesting. I like this trivia thing because I learn I feel like I'm like, oh, I'm getting smarter.
Okay.
Which one of these animals is surprisingly known to fart up a storm more than cows? They release 20 million tons of methane per year. So I have multiple choice. All right. So
yeah. I love a multiple choice.
I'm going to repeat the question to the listeners again, too, in case they didn't catch that. Which one of these animals is surprisingly known to release 20 million tons of methane per year from their farts? They release more greenhouse gases than cows. Okay. A, chipmunks. B, owls. C, termites. Or D, geckos. And I could say them again if you want.
This is hard.
I'll say them one more time for everybody. Okay. A, chipmunks. B, owls. C, termites. Or D, geckos. Which one of these little creatures do you think could fart up more than cows?
I think owls.
Owls look like they're always farting, but...
Well, I'm thinking about their diet.
So, that's smart.
So chipmunks eat nuts and stuff, right? What do chipmunks eat? Bugs and nuts? Termites eat wood.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone's farting from wood, right? I'm wrong already. I know I'm wrong already because I
can't tell you too much.
What is it?
Termites.
Termites?
Yes.
What the fuck? Why? Do they eat people or something?
I can really quickly look this up.
You don't have to Google this.
Wait, I have a phone here. I wish I had an assistant. Why?
Yeah, a producer.
Why do termites fart so much?
She's looking it up, folks. She has gone to Google.
Yes, termites fart, just like cattle. It brings up food from its stomach and chews it again. Termites have bacteria in their guts that break down plant material. It doesn't really say why they fart.
That's crazy.
I don't know, but apparently termites are known to
Wow.
Like I went all in on finding this like
yeah.
fart trivia. I like Googled like what are some interesting facts about farts. Okay. The next one, I like this one too, and this one has a wild answer.
I still have a chance to win here, right? There's three questions.
I think you lost 2. So
I lost 2, but there's 3. I still have a chance to win.
Yeah, I guess if you get 3 out of 5, that's
And what
good.
do I win?
Fart master.
All right. Well,
title of the fart
holding
master.
the title, actually. But
number 3. When was the first whoopee cushion invented?
19 actually it seems like an 1800s fucking thing. I'm gonna go with my original thought, which was in like 1952 or something like that.
Okay, so this answer is kind of complicated because if we're talking strictly the whoopee cushion as we know, the answer is 1930, which was made in Canada, but apparently they used whoopee cushions way before our time, and this is wild. They used in the ancient times, like court jesters would use animal bladders. They would take animal bladders and use them the way that we use whoopee cushions.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
That's morbid.
If nobody believes me, Google it. I found it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
People are offended by what comedians are saying now. Imagine this.
But they were comedians. They were jesters.
What's the difference, I guess?
No, but so 1930s whoopee cushion, like the one as we know was made in 1930. So I think your answer was close enough.
Okay. All right. Well, you'll give me a close enough as someone who is very what's the word? Fuck, I can't even think of it. I'm very competitive. I wouldn't give myself that because I got it wrong, but I appreciate it.
Okay, next question. What was, we have 2 left. What was the original name of the whoopee cushion? I have multiple choice. Okay.
Yeah, please.
And I feel like this was a trick question, so I'm going to tell you right now 2 of the answers are correct. Apparently it went through a series of let's try this name, and they finally settled on whoopee cushion. So which one of these 2 was the original names for the whoopee cushion? 1, poo-poo cushion.
Okay.
2, oopsie daisy do. 3, boop oopa doop. And 4, boopy cushion.
I'm gonna go with the second one, which was
oopsie daisy do.
Oopsie daisy do.
Let me say them again because there's 2 answers.
Did you come up with the other answers?
I came up with the other answers, and I made them sound similar to the original answer to kind of confuse you. So all right. Again, I'll give them again. 2 of them are correct. So 1, poo-poo cushion. 2, oopsie daisy do. 3, boop boop a doop. And 4, boopy cushion.
It could also be boop boop a doop just because of what's her name, that cartoon character,
Betty Boop.
But I don't think so. I think it's number 2 and number 4.
You were right about the Betty Boop one.
What? Really?
You second guessed yourself. That was actually smart line of thinking because, like, think about it, the 1930s. Like, she's an old cartoon, right?
Yeah, but she didn't fart.
True. Yeah,
why I'm yelling. She didn't fart. It had nothing to do with her.
So the correct answers are poo-poo cushion and boop boop a doop.
All right.
So those were the original names of the whoopee cushion, and then they finally moved it on. Okay, last one. Which prolific historical figure, let me say that again.
Okay.
Which prolific historical figure was known for loving fart humor? Okay, 1, William Shakespeare. I'll give you 3. So 1, William Shakespeare. 2, Beethoven. Or 3, Mozart.
Damn, that's hard. I'm going to go with William Shakespeare just because he was a writer.
You're correct. I think Mozart also liked fart humor, but not as much as William Shakespeare.
I don't think Beethoven would like it very much. He's he can't fucking hear, so there goes half the enjoyment.
I actually came up with those on the spot because I just realized I wrote the correct answer and didn't write any other alternatives. And I'm a piano player, so the first things that came to my head were pianists. So that
oh, nice. Yeah,
that also could have given it away. All right. I have a few more questions for you.
Sure.
Before we get into them, I just want to tell the listeners, I just want to remind everybody, if you're enjoying what you hear so far, please don't forget to hit subscribe. I would like to give you guys a better product, get a better microphone, get a better camera. I said this last episode, but my skin looks clear, and that's not a result of my skin being clear. That's a result of me having a bad camera. So if you want to see the imperfections and my wrinkles of a 35-year-old woman, I need to get this channel monetized. So please don't forget to hit subscribe. If you already are a subscriber, please don't forget to share this with a friend. That is helpful as well. All right. Next question. All right. I'm curious to know, what is it like dating a comedian? Because as a musician, I've dated musicians, and there were pros and cons to those relationships.
What are the pros and cons of dating a musician?
The pro was we get each other's lifestyles. So there's no like, oh my God, you're so into your music that you don't spend time with me. It was like, I get that.
Right.
The cons were, depending on the instrument, I made a mistake, not a mistake, I mean, because it was a good relationship in many ways, but one issue I had, I dated another piano player, and we ended up just being competitive with each other because we couldn't collaborate. There was no room for both of us in the picture. But then I've dated like drummers, and that was like a perfect collaboration. So I'm kind of curious to hear two comedians dating. How is that?
Well, I think it's person to person, because, there are some things where like, like if there is that, like, okay, there's a little bit more, if I have to work on Halloween or something, like she'll be upset, but she'll get it, but she'll still be upset. There still is that, like, man, can you take a fucking day off? Or if, like, you get offered something on her birthday or whatever, there is still that, like, man, take a fucking day off. You can't, it is person to person, but also I guess the pros are she's really funny, and you could talk shit. You know what I mean? You can't go, oh, there's this fucking guy, and you're trying to describe the person. You go, do you know this guy? Yeah, he fucking sucks, or whatever, or like, but cons are there's, you have to get over feeling jealous of somebody. Like if I'm jealous that she got something or vice versa.
Yeah.
That was a conversation we had to have pretty early, where I went, you have to, because sometimes, when somebody tells you like, oh, I got this opportunity, it's hard not to go like, oh man, like I wish I got that opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we had to have a conversation very early where it's like, we're both going to get shit that each other wants, and we have to be supportive 100%. There always has to be like girlfriend, your girlfriend, boyfriend first, and then whatever. And cons are, I'm sure I've shook hands with people that have had sex with her. So that's there's more cons, I think.
I'm so glad you're bringing all that up, because I can relate. And like jealousy, I feel like jealousy is like a shameful thing to talk about. Like it's something that I deal with, and it always feels like a bad, like gross thing. Like I'm like, oh, I don't want to tell people I'm jealous, but same here. Like I've had to deal with jealousy about, when you're dating a band boy, like they've got girls chase, like the hot, you know what I mean? Like they've got girls chasing them after men in bands are notorious for like getting women, like just women throwing themselves at them. I don't know if it's like the same thing for comedians. I would imagine it depends.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. People, especially, that happens a lot. And especially other women comics, like they'll, comics are fucking each other.
Yeah. And then the other thing, the jealousy thing you mentioned about like learning how to support each other. Exactly what I was saying. Like when I dated a piano player, he was by far a way better piano player than me. And I got jealous so many times because he would, like I said, there just wasn't room for both of us. He would get chosen for these positions in town or whatever, like these jobs or these like band positions that I'm like, I can't even compete. Like, there's no way. You're just, I mean, on the bright side, he taught me a lot that like I learned from him. Like, he taught me a lot about the piano that I don't think I could have learned without dating him. But that was rough, like dealing with those jealous feelings.
And that's real shit. Like, I can't even be like, hey, don't feel that way. You just have to be like, I'm sorry, but first comes support, and then you can even say it in another way, because what it really is like you're not happy with where you are, so that has nothing to do with anybody else but you. So you can like it's really like, just take a second to fucking think. I'm not I'm not your enemy. You're not upset that I got something. You're upset that you're not getting something. So it that has to be like thought about more, I think.
It's kind of the same thing we were talking about before about like interpreting people's social media. It's like same thing here. Jealousy is like whatever is, you're like you said, it's not that person specifically that you hate. It's like something within yourself that person is triggering, you.
Yeah, and I'm a jealous guy too. I can get jealous, especially when it comes to like other dudes, and my chick's like super hot. I'm a monster. I don't know why she thinks like she's getting jealous of other people. I'm like, look, no one's coming for me, I look like Philip Seymour Hoffman now.
My last 2 boyfriends I dated were not jealous people. And it was like, I'm like, you are wild creatures. Like how, like they, especially like I do podcasting, and I've had a lot of men on my podcast, like and then like whatever, the boyfriend couldn't be there at the time because they had their own thing to do. And this has not been my experience with men across the board. I've dated a lot of jealous guys, but the last 2 guys I dated, for whatever reason, were like crazy trusting. Like, and I'm like, not that they shouldn't, not that I'm like, they shouldn't have trusted me, but no, like I never cheated or anything, but I was just like, how are you so stable?
I think it just comes from like confidence in your partner, of like, or just confidence and being like, okay, and if you do cheat on me, then it's over. You know what I mean? It's like,
that's what
what it is.
I've heard some people say that. They're like, one of my female friends, she was like, I don't worry about cheating because like if they're the type of person to cheat, like I don't want to be with them anyway. So like if they cheat, that's not like a reflection of me. That's a reflection of them. But
I do get it though. Like I'm thinking about if she ever like if she goes on the road for a weekend, you got to go like, what's going on? Is she going to meet a guy and then whatever? It's human.
Yeah.
You just have to be like, whatever, it is what it is. Don't do it, please.
Yeah, no, I wish I was level-headed like some of those other people. I'm too of like, I mean, I have a lot of shit to work out, but I feel like I'm too insecure of a person that I'm going to be like, was this person better than me? Like, I'd be like comparing myself to the other person if I got cheated on. You know what I mean?
Right. That'd be brutal.
All right. So I only got like 1 or 2 more questions for you. Okay. All right. AI. I feel like that's all the talk now. So I wanted to include a question on here about AI.
Right.
It's hard to predict like 1,000 years from now. So let's not even go there. But let's talk about like the next 50 to 100 years. Do you ever think stand-up will become obsolete because people are going to be so much in virtual reality that comedy is more going to go into like TikTok and those types of things? Or do you think 50 to 100 years stand-up is still going to be a thing? I mean, obviously there's no way to know for sure, but I
think it'll still be a thing. I think there's an experience with going to see live stand-up that cannot be regenerated with AI or whatever. I mean, everything is going to be its own experience. Like you can't say AI is going to ruin stand-up. It's just going to be its own stand-up. I mean, they're going to have acts that are they've already been trying to do this, but they're going to have acts that are like what are those things called where it's like it's like lights and it's you know what the fuck I'm talking about with the you ever see Star Wars?
Yeah.
That kind of shit. Fuck, what's that
CGI,
word?
CGI?
No,
that's the new thing.
Not hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics.
Whatever. It's gonna be like that with the way they did Tupac. You know what I mean? Like there's gonna be that with people doing, writing Richard Pryor-esque material and being able to have him say it in his voice, which is going to be whatever, but it's not going to beat somebody, a human that is a person you don't know doing stand-up, and like it's a new voice and everything. Like AI cannot create a new person, I don't think. I don't know. I'm kind of just saying that.
I had a filmmaker on the podcast recently, and she was saying that like part of the writer's strike and the actor's strike was that they were creating films out of already existing actors. And that was like part of the thing is that like AI was literally like making Leonardo DiCaprio the AI version. And it was apparently some of the things they were creating were so good that they were actually replacing like they looked real, to people. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know what
I guess it's person to person, because when I hear that, I'm disgusted a little. I'm like, I couldn't, even if I liked the movie, if they were like, and playing fucking Johnny, who cares, is AI Leonardo DiCaprio. Even if I liked it, I think I'd be like, ugh, that's gross.
I said that to, the girl I was talking about too. I was like, there's a massive difference between creating an AI person versus taking an already existing human being and creating an AI identity of them. Like that's theft. You're like stealing a person. Yeah. It's like so fucked up.
But it's its own experience, and if you really want to just like not let anything bother you, you can. I think I could just go, well, that's just going to be in our world. And if people want to go out and they want to see an AI stand-up comedian, okay, I'll open. I don't give a shit. But
it's all, you can almost think of it too, like maybe stand-up will never die, in the somewhat relative near future, because maybe at that point it'll be like the different foods. It's like, here's processed food and herere's organic food. Like maybe there's going to be organic art versus processed art.
There's going to be McDonald's, version of, Jeff Carlin.
Yeah.
Who am I trying to say? George Carlin.
Or how about you? There might be an AI McDonald's version of Brendan Sagalow.
I am the McDonald's version of me, first of all. Second of all, nobody is coming out to see an AI version of me. And if people are coming out to see an AI version of me, then I fucked up somewhere, because no one's coming out to see a me version of me. So,
Or there might be AI pooped my pants raps out there.
That I would legitimately be upset about.
All right, I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Anybody who's listening and they listen to all the episodes, I'm sorry I keep recycling this question, but I actually feel like I really like this question. So it's a self-awareness question. If you could go back to your younger self, like whatever, 10 years ago, I don't know, 20s, and give your younger self advice, like what wisdom do you wish you knew then that you think would have helped you in your life today?
I'd probably say listen more. I would just say listen. Like actually listen when you're talking to people and hear what they have to say. And I don't know. I was kind of I'm still an idiot, but I was like I'm still a dumb, angry guy, but I don't drink and I meditate now, but I would never tell my younger self to stop doing that. I would be like, get it out, drink,
right,
fucking live that life, be that guy. But yeah, definitely probably listen. And also, family's important.
When you had to, what you said you don't drink anymore, did you have to go through like a process to stop drinking, or it was like an easy one for you?
It wasn't easy, and it's still not easy, but I just stopped because I was like drinking every day. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't really a problem. I was just like, it was definitely going to become one. I mean, it was like, anytime I was in a bar, I was getting hammered, and we work in bars. Yeah. And there was a point where I was like 8-9 years into stand up, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this without drinking and getting drunk. I don't know if I could get on stage without getting drunk. And I was like, I know for sure that's a problem. And now I couldn't even imagine trying to do that.
I feel like drinking problems definitely sneaks up on you, because I started having them very young as well. Like I remember I was oh God, like 21, 22. I had I started drinking at 19 because I had an ID that my like someone that looked absolutely nothing like me. It was like this girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. And she was like, and back then they weren't that serious about that stuff. And she's like, hey, I just turned, 21 or whatever. I don't need my old ID. Like you can just have my old one and you can go drink. And I was like, sure. And like I used it everywhere and nobody ever questioned it. They just looked at the date and looked at me and they're like, all right, good enough. And
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I started drinking at 19, and by the time I was like 22, I remember like, holy shit, this sneaks up on you. I used to go to this bar in my town that was like this total dive bar, and I would go there just to like to make like it sounds so arrogant or something, but to like make fun of the people. I'd go there, let's see all the weird drunks at the dive bar. But then at some point, like my drink was waiting for me and the people next to me were like, Andrea, great to see you. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I become them. Like, holy shit. Like it just,
you become a barfly.
Yeah. It just like sneaks up on you. And I'm like, how, like, I think I have a drinking problem. Like you don't, you don't think about it, and it just kind of sneaks up like that, you know?
Yeah. I remember I was tossing it around. I was like, I think I want to stop. I don't know. But if I'm like thinking that all the time, then it's like, I probably should stop. And then like, I would go to therapy and he'd be like, why don't you stop? And I go, because I want to have fun and I don't want to blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you get really defensive about stopping. That seems like a red flag. And I was like, oh yeah, probably. But that's more about a freedom thing in my eyes. I'm like, don't tell me what to do. It goes back
to the authority thing, right?
Exactly. But I miss it. I still miss it. I'm like, every day I'm like, you could probably drink. And I could go right back to what I was doing, but it would probably ruin my life.
So I actually stopped drinking also, but I didn't have to go through a process either. Like I didn't have to go to AA to quit drinking or anything like that. But I actually just stopped because I'm 35 now and I just get like terrible hangovers now.
Oh,
like
hangovers are brutal.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I used to get them when I was younger and just was able to like tolerate it better. But nowadays, like I can't even enjoy just one drink for the taste of it, because I like sometimes like the taste of a glass of wine or like a good beer.
Right.
I can't even like enjoy that. Like I'll have one and I'll have my hangover before the next day. Like I'll have my hangover. Yeah. Like I'll wake up like in the middle of the night or like right as I'm about to go to bed and I'll already feel the hangover.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
For me, it wasn't like, it was like easy to quit because I was like, I don't want that. Like I don't want, so.
It also like, it gets to a point where like there is like this, for me, I had to pick this fork in the road where it was like, I don't think I could be a productive, stand-up comedy, making it your day job, not your day job, but making like a living doing it and supporting yourself and whatever is really hard. And it would have been so much harder if I was drinking and I was staying out till like 3, 4, 5 a.m., getting hammered, being hungover the next day, like not writing, not performing well. It just wasn't good. Some people could do it though, and I'm so jealous of those people.
How many years in your stand-up career did you break out of like the day job and just do solely comedy?
Well, I was whenever the pandemic started, because I was answering. I mean, I had every fucking job in the books, but I was answering phones at a comedy club during the day and like just taking reservations and shit.
Yeah.
And then after the pandemic, once the pandemic started and everything had to shut down, I just started making money doing stand-up. Like once stand-up came back, I just started making money doing it. And I was like, oh, I could support myself. And it's ups and downs. Money comes and goes, and it's really frustrating. But and at this point, if I was like an Uber driver, people would be like, "Is that Brendan Sagalow?" And I'd be like, "Oh, god damn it!"
I mean, people had to do. I think I heard on Joe Rogan's podcast that he was like a taxi driver. Like I think I think his story was that he owned a martial arts like business teaching kids like martial arts. And then at one point he was like, I want to take my career seriously. And if I'm pouring my energy into stand up, like I can't be a good teacher. And he felt guilty. He's like, I'm not being a good teacher. So I think he quit his business and he became like he probably would have been an Uber driver if it was these days, but back then it was like a taxi driver. So I feel like if I saw like a comedian that was, pretty successful doing Uber, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like,
I mean, Jon Stewart, I think was he was driving a taxi till he was like in his late 30s, I think.
Yeah.
So,
it
I don't know.
Makes perfect sense.
That's what I say to myself whenever I'm like filling out resumes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you at all. If you want to do comedy, I definitely, from my perspective, I wouldn't, if I was like in your shoes, I wouldn't do like a 9-to-5 job, like at this point, but totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. All right. So we're going to end the podcast there. It was a pleasure to have Brendan Sagalow on the podcast today. Before we end it, is there anything you want to let the audience know? Like, I can drop your Instagram link below if people want to find it, but any upcoming shows or anything you want to let them know about?
I'm going to be when does this come out?
Tuesday.
All right. Well, if anybody is in New Jersey, I'll be in Morris Plains at the Dojo of Comedy, whatever that place is called. Really good club in Morris Plains, New Jersey on the 25th. So come on out to that. I'm headlining. Nice. And apparently so is every comedian that's in Morris Plains is going to be opening for me. So there's a lot of openers. But so come out to that and everything else, follow me and all that shit.
That's wild. Yeah, I'll leave his link below for you guys if you want to check out, his upcoming
I hope
shows.
I was funny.
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes I get really serious.
My podcast can be a mix of serious sometimes. Like I throw in some serious questions. So don't feel like, oh, you weren't you were the serious guy. I feel like a lot of people come on here and like who are very funny in real life and like they come on here and they like we get serious sometimes. So no worries. No, you're good. Okay. But anyways, that was it, listeners. This is the Pranzata Podcast, episode number 100. Again, as I said before, please hit subscribe so I can grow this channel. And that's it. Have a good day, guys. Bye.